We're here at CIOTA 2019 in the Crankbrothers booth to talk about the new Synthesis wheels with the new wheels creators, Mello and Jason.
Hi, I'm Mello, one of the design engineers at SR56, one of the creators of Synthesis, and came from a small composites company back home in Australia called Bouwmeester, and we did the first single rim profile, and that's how I came to be here.
And I'm Jason Schiers. I was the founder of Enve Composites, and I've been doing composite wheels for about 20 years.
Cool. So, you know, the wheels, they're tuned for front and back usage, right? So they're specific to the front wheel of your bike and the back wheel of your bike. Talk to me about, you know, why that is and how you've managed to do it.
So yeah, SR56 is essentially the design and development center that Selle Royal has put together in Utah, and there we're doing projects for all the brands that Selle Royal owns, Crankbrothers being one of them. My opportunity to meet Mello was really fortuitous given what he had created in the Bouwmeester wheel, and it was truly unique to what the wheel market had seen. Everything I had done historically was Enve, and so it was very, very stiff. I think Mello was able to take a look at that and kind of challenge it, and therein lies the synthesis attachment, if you will.
The Bouwmeester rim, being a really shallow profile rim, offered a lot of compliance, and that was the antithesis of what Jason had been doing with Enve, which is stiffness and the benefits that created. So what I found with the shallow profile rim, you gained more compliance and dampening in your total ride performance, and particularly in the front with tracking and reducing trail chatter.
So obviously it takes a lot of testing to get this kind of wheel program up and running. Can you tell me how kind of the testing system went and what you guys did?
Absolutely. So obviously we each had our own approach, and you know the best way to settle that is to let the data settle that. So we ran multiple configurations and we had a pretty large blind test pool of riders, and we consistently kept coming back to trends that were leading us towards when people would describe or talk about their experience on the compliant wheels, they generally were referring to the front of the bike, to the steering, to the stability, the tracking, etc. When it came to the people that preferred the stiffer wheels, they were talking about speed, the response speed, both braking and accelerating, cornering, snap out of corners. In doing so, we started to pair different wheels together. We ended up putting a compliant wheel up front and a stiff rear and back, and that was the first wheel set that we got a uniform, positive feedback. We weren't split down the middle between stiff fans and compliant fans, and that's where we're at now.
So obviously to build wheels in different ways, they obviously need to have different constructions and different technologies in the rims. Mello, can you tell me a little bit about how these two wheels differ?
Sure. So the front wheel itself, we actually go to a lower spoke count. We also go to a lighter gauge spoke, and we've got a different rim profile. So the combinations of these things and lower spoke tension, you gain more compliance in that front wheel. So what it enables the front wheel to do is actually deviate and absorb impacts. So less trail chatter, hold its line nicer, those sorts of things. And then in the rear rim, we actually go to a higher spoke count, a higher gauge spoke, and you end up with a stiffer wheel system in the rear. Also in the rear rim, we actually go to a thicker rim wall as well. So it's a slightly heavier rim, more robust, more heavy duty. So you get that stiffness and snap out of the corners.
So in the Synthesis range, there are 3 different models of wheel for different disciplines. You've got cross-country, enduro and downhill. Can you tell me a little bit about how they differ?
We actually started the project with downhill, which is actually the hardest place to start in a lot of ways. So we actually worked with Uno. We sponsored Uno last year, and we did a lot of our R&D actually on the World Cup circuit with that downhill range of products. So obviously to basically meet the demands of the World Cup scene, the downhill set is stronger, really good impact resistance. It's also a bit stiffer as well in the laminate that we use. And then we moved to enduro. Obviously that's reasonably self-explanatory. It's similar inner rim widths to the downhill, but it does run a slightly narrower inner rim width on the rear. So what we've done with the front and rear rims is to try and match up the tyre profiles as well. So round out the front tyre a little bit more for turning, and then sharpen up the rear profile for a little bit better tracking. Similar theme in XC as well, so slightly wider inner rim width on the front and slightly narrower on the rear. The good thing about the Synthesis range in itself is that we've got two different levels. So we've got the Series 11, which is our premium, and we use an Industry 9 Hydra hub. And then we've also got the base level, and the rim itself is actually the same, so we didn't want to limit what the customer can experience depending on their budget, and we partnered with Sappham on the spokes. So we use a premium CX Ray and CX Sprint in the rear, which is the higher level, a little bit lighter, a bit more aero, and then we've got D-Lights and Race on the base level, and they have very similar elongation properties, so you get a very similar ride between the two levels.